Everyone firmly believes we are living in the end times. But what if we are at the beginning? Human history has taught us that every generation has believed itself to be the last, for numerous reasons such as wars, plagues, and many other events they experienced. However, determining the exact time of the hour is a matter of the unseen, known only to God, and minor signs of the hour have appeared since the mission of the Prophet Muhammad. If we assume we are at the beginning, this completely changes our perspective. Continuous responsibility. Instead of waiting for the end, we shift to a mindset of building for future generations who may live thousands of years after us. Technological advancement. What we see today as the pinnacle of development may be considered by future generations as a technological stone age. Awareness of time. People's preoccupation with the end may distract them from developing the earth, which is the fundamental purpose of stewardship. The idea that we are ancient compared to those who will come after us makes every achievement we make today a cornerstone for a civilization that has not yet truly begun. If we are at the beginning of time or in a very early stage of human civilization, we move from the role of witnessing the end to the role of the great founder. We are the ancients whose history will be studied. We usually look at the pharaohs or the Greeks as ancient civilizations. But if humanity continues for another million years, we, the internet and space generation, will be among the first primitive ages. Meaning, what we write and invent now is the first alphabet for a distant future. The concept of building the earth. When humanity thinks that time has run out, it may become complacent about long-term reform. But the idea of a beginning revives the principle of stewardship, for the seed you plant today may provide shelter for people tens of thousands of years from now. Intellectual humility. We are very proud of artificial intelligence and the conquest of Mars. But in the context of beginnings, we may be like those who have just discovered fire. This perspective opens the door to endless imagination about what humanity can achieve, instead of feeling that we have reached the pinnacle of everything. A change in dealing with resources. If we were at the end, we might consume everything greedily. But awareness of the beginning imposes upon us the responsibility of sustainability. Because we know there is a long queue of generations waiting their turn to live on this planet. If the hour were to be established while one of you has a sapling in his hand, let him plant it if he can before it is established. This prophetic guidance from the seal of the prophets, Muhammad, is the perfect bridge between the idea of beginning and end and reality. It commands us to act with a mindset of beginning and building, even if the end is before our eyes. The future of intelligence and the human footprint in the universe. If we consider ourselves to be at the beginning, here are some dimensions that might completely change our view of reality. We are the early birds. In astronomy, there is a hypothesis that Earth originated very early in the history of the universe. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old, and stars are expected to continue to give rise to life for several trillion years. The result: we live at the dawn of the universe. If other intelligent beings appear in the future, we are, for them, the first legendary civilization that started it all. The maturation of moral consciousness. If we look at our history, we find that humanity only began to grasp concepts such as universal human rights, environmental protection, and international law in the last century. The idea: we are still in a stage of human adolescence. Current wars and conflicts may not be signs of the end, but rather the birth pangs of a more mature human consciousness that will come thousands of years from now, when the idea of conflict over resources is transcended. The age of the Great Migration has not yet begun. All we have done so far is jump to the moon and send robotic vehicles to Mars. If we were at the beginning, Earth is not the final destination, but rather the cradle. Humanity may spend 99% of its future history as a civilization traversing the stars. And what we are experiencing now is merely a preparatory phase within the cradle before venturing out into the wider world. The transformation of religion and spirituality. In the beginning, faith is the driving force for building and discovery. The feeling that we are at the dawn of time gives prayer, worship, and meditation a new dimension. They are not merely rituals to escape an impending end, but spiritual sustenance for a very long and arduous journey that awaits our human race. The difference between the end and the beginning is hope. Awareness of the end breeds contraction and fear, while awareness of the beginning breeds expansion and curiosity. This questioning takes us from a philosophy of waiting to a philosophy of creation. If we delve deeper into the hypothesis that we live at the dawn of human history, not its twilight, we open the door to radical shifts in our understanding of existence. The early settlers' hypothesis. Scientifically and astronomically, some studies indicate that Earth was among the first 8% of habitable planets to form in the history of the universe. This means that 92% of Earth-like planets have yet to be born. The depth here: we are not the end, but rather Generation Zero. We are the beings who will pave the way for a universe teeming with life billions of years from now. And the knowledge and values we leave behind may become the sacred text or foundational basis for those future civilizations. The larva human and the stage of transition. If we look at human evolution, we find that we spent hundreds of thousands of years gathering fruits, and only in the last 200 years did the technological explosion occur. Interpretation. Perhaps we are now in the transitional stage from biological humans to superconscious humans. What we see of chaos and wars today are not signs of annihilation, but rather the adolescent turmoil of a human race that has yet to learn how to manage its immense power. We are in the early stages of learning how to truly be human. Language and communication. We are in an age of primitive signals. We believe our languages are complex, but considering the possibilities of the future, our current languages may be nothing more than primitive murmurs. Depth. Perhaps in the future of time, humans will communicate by transmitting thoughts and feelings directly. Technological telepathy or collective consciousness. In this sense, we live in an age of silence that precedes the age of full expression, redefining the sacred and the development of the earth. In the collective mindset, the end times are associated with renouncing worldly desires because they are fleeting. But in the beginning of time, work becomes a major act of worship, because every decision we make today, in genetics, artificial intelligence, ethics, will determine the course of humanity for the next million years. True stewardship. The concept of developing the earth becomes not merely about building houses, but about designing a just cosmic system that accommodates billions of future generations. The conflict between memory and imagination, the end times mindset. Lives on memory waiting for ancient prophecies to be fulfilled, returning to the past. The early times mindset. Lives on imagination, creating new values, exploring the unknown, believing that the best is yet to come. Why do people reject this idea? People tend to favor the end times idea because it relieves them of responsibility. If the end is tomorrow, there's no need to solve the climate crisis or reform the education system. But the beginning of time is terrifying because it places the burden of creation on our shoulders. We are responsible for the quality of life of those who will live thousands of years after us.